welcome to the Caspian Podcast, the podcast of the Caspian Post with me, Mark Elliott. Welcome to the Caspian Podcast with me, Mark Elliott. Today, a very exciting day for us. We've got Gela Bezhuashvili, I hope I've said that right, who was, having spent a whole career working through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, he rose as far as being the actual Minister of Foreign Affairs. Get that? We've got a real minister on our podcast. And that was in a very exciting time too. But he's gone on since then to be a director of intelligence in Georgia over several regimes. And now I believe is proudest of all of being running a school, or organizing a whole international school. And of course, being Georgian, he has a vineyard and a winery. Now, I've probably got that all wrong. Gela, tell us what I got wrong.
Hi, Mark. Yeah, pleased to be a guest on your podcast, and congratulations for the project that I hope will put some light on quite complicated but fascinating region.
Oh, it is,
yeah. So diverse culturally, so diverse from many perspectives historically. So I would be pleased to talk about any topics that would be of interest of your audience.
Well, one of the things, like, I first went to Georgia back in the mid-1990s, and I'm fascinated to see how the world that I saw through my traveler's eyes would compare to you, working your way through the ministry and rising to such dizzying heights as a minister. So just put you back, for people that hadn't seen Georgia in the 1990s, it was a shambles, wasn't it? The whole country had collapsed. I remember visiting some friends who were in the 12th floor in Guldani, which was an area of Tbilisi right on the outskirts. There was no electricity, well, barely any. Certainly the lifts didn't work. The water ran once or twice a week. And then... but the hospitality was incredible. I'm sorry, I'm rather selling Georgia, but I love the place. And the people just made me absolutely excited to come back. And then what I noticed around about 2004, when Saakashvili came to power, suddenly there was a complete change. That's how it seemed to me. But what's exciting for me is you were there. You were part of this. How did such change happen? And is it true that you really fired the entire police force?
Yeah, well, yes, interesting times, and really, I'm proud, and maybe it's a gift that I got a chance to serve my country in that period of great change, very challenging moments. Proud of our achievements, reflecting on our mistakes. But just to start with what you have said about your experience traveling to the region, the other day I recollected the meeting when I was a minister, a meeting with my Norwegian colleague in Oslo, and we were talking about our partnership, our two countries, the cultures, and he put the book written by you probably know this book by great Norwegian Knut Hamsun. And Knut Hamsun traveled to Caucasus from St. Petersburg, end of 19th century, and he had written a book in 1903 called In Wonderland. And the book In Wonderland is about his experience of traveler from North Caucasus down to Tbilisi and Baku then, and then travel to Turkey. And actually, 2/3 of the book is about his emotions and reflections on Georgia.
Well, that's a funny thing, because I remember when I was setting out to go to Central Asia, and I met a lady, Inga Gogowadze, who's now a musician in Georgia. But I met her on the train, and she said, "Just come for one day to my family's house." Weeks went by. It was almost what they called terrorist hospitality. Absolutely amazing hospitality. They had nothing, and they fed me, and they took me to wine, gave me wine. They showed me such hospitality. I've often thought that the two most hospitable places in the world are Georgia and Iran. The only difference is Georgia you must drink, and Iran you mustn't.
Right. But why I recollected that Knut Hamsun emotions, because it's end of 19th century. Georgia, quite different, but the hospitality still is here as it was 200 or 300 years ago. It's part of our culture, part of our identity and our genes. But Knut Hamsun, why I remember this vividly, and I always cite this book to my friends, foreign friends who travels to Georgia, because the Norwegian was so excited about diversity that he has seen, for example, in Tiflis, when he entered Tiflis, and that's, I quote, he said, I've never seen the place when 70 languages, different languages spoken.
70?
70. It's 19, can you imagine? Because it was a center of trade in a region, it's a Silk Road and something. And he has a fantastic description of different people he met, different nationalities, different religions. When he entered the mosque, then the synagogue, then the Georgian church, then the Catholic church, all in one place. So this is a region. This is a spirit, and Knut Hamsun's reflections and emotions are still here. And that's why when you now, the other day, a week ago, with my American friends, we went to, thanks God that the restaurants now are open due to the restrictions on pandemic. So in one of the wine bars, we entered the wine bar, and I saw so many foreigners enjoying themselves, speaking the different languages. There were, Jewish people speaking Hebrew. There were Americans, English, French, German, sometimes Russian. So I said, my gosh, the Knut Hamsun was right, and nothing has changed. 200 years ago, still diversity is here, which is great strength. And actually, what happened in this country, as you described, since 1990 to up to now, is a fundamental transformation. It's a transformation of minds, not only infrastructure, not only, now Tbilisi is one of the enlightened cities in the region. You can, if you travel to Gudani now, you will see it's like a Manhattan now.
Really?
I'm literally speaking.
That's absolutely fantastic.
But that's important. But the most important is transformation of minds and the people mindsets. The greatest achievement of our team and the team of young enthusiasts. I was 36 years old when I got a first Minister of Defense, and then 38 years old I was a foreign minister. My prime minister was 29 years old. And we had a set of young, enthusiastic people who wanted to achieve their lifetime goal, is to build your own country. Of course, not without the difficulties. In order to fight corruption, you need to sometimes make very difficult and drastic decisions, and so these decisions are not always in line with the standards that nowadays are established in Europe.
Well, I do remember. I remember when I was about 2000. So it was the old regime, and the police were so. I remember I got mugged and my bag was stolen, and I went to the police, and they said, "Oh, since you're a writer and a foreigner, we're not going to charge you for filing a report." And the locals told me, no, the people will save you from the police rather than vice versa.
Right. No, situation has changed, and that's an achievement. And I'm very proud to be was a part of that team. Imagine a young man or woman who loves the country and wants to do something. And we have done it, and I have great stories to tell to my kids. I'm preparing myself and my family for grandchildren. So I have some stories for grandchildren too. So this is something that someone asks himself, what's the purpose of your life? What excites you? Why you live? What's your happiness? And my formula of happiness, and when you do something big and you're proud of it, and it can stay, overstay you, it can stay longer. So I'm very lucky. Really, I'm very lucky that I had a chance to serve and that was a great privilege. And when we talk such passionately about the performances that we made, even mistakes that we made at that time. I mean, the all is here around me. When I go on the streets now, I see police that, by all accounts now, is one of the most respected institutions in this country. Those corrupt pictures of corrupt police are no longer here. Yes. You have a modern military today that I'm very proud of to be part of a team that built up this military. You have one of the best services provided electronically from the point of view of serving your citizens. We have public service centers. We have palaces of justice that are serving the citizens quickly, efficiently, without any corruption, and transparently. And so you have a different Georgia now.
Yeah, I love this idea of your great achievement being the changing of minds. And I was living in Belgium when the revolution had brought Saakashvili and your that team to power, and I remember thinking, this is a whole new politician, in the sense he came live on French TV speaking in French and said, I won't do the French because it's not that good, but he said, yes, we've changed the population, but you know what you need you to know is this is a beautiful country with beautiful women and delicious wine and fabulous scenery. And imagine, said with a French accent on French TV. And this was the most stirring piece of non-political politics that I remember ever seeing in my lifetime. And it's stuck with me ever since. And I thought,
Mark, this is remarkable, because what you said, I mean, I'm very pleased that you mentioned it and you noted it, because when you're a president or a foreign minister of the country that is in the transition, that is struggling for freedom, that is struggling with reforms, with a very difficult geopolitical neighborhood, internal problems, external problems, and you are, in a way, a salesman, the best salesman of your country is a foreign minister, is a president. And my president was a best salesman. I tried to catch up with him too. And when we were talking about our country, we were talking in such a passionate way, in such an honest way, that our audience was always accepting what we were about to say about the country, you know, traveling from country to country, begging investors to come and invest. That was actually what we've been doing. And I remember one story you might find, in your audience might find it interesting. When we were in United Arab Emirates, hosted by a royal family, and at that time already two very big investment funds from United Arab Emirates already decided and made a decision to invest in Georgia. And I remember the emirs were asking my president, Mr. President, what we can do for you? I mean, we want to give you a gift. Immediately, my president said, you know, I'm building a new boulevard in Batumi. Please, can you provide palm trees for my Batumi city? And you know, they did. No idea. They delivered. And now in Batumi, in a new boulevard, you have all palm trees gifted by Emir's family from United Emirates as a gift to city of Batumi. And when you walk now on the boulevard in Batumi, and you know that this is something that you brought, it gives you a lot of pride. It gives you a lot of pleasure. It gives you a lot of happiness.
Gela, let me just say, for people that don't know Georgia very well, I should point out that Batumi is a coastal city right near the Turkish border. It has a fascinating history, but again, in the 1990s, had been left in total ruins. There were burnt out old hotels all along the coast. And if you go now, it's one of the most eccentric cities. There are some crazy pieces of architecture. It's an absolutely superb place. And I think what you've done, again, it's the mindset, because someone has gone, won't just build hotels, we'll build crazy. And there's a sense of all the eccentricities of Rustaveli almost in a modern form, the way that is built, and off line sort of towers and the statues that intermingle. It's really, and again, what you've done is you've given the idea, haven't you? You created the ethos, and that's. I mean, I do remember when I was first there and these buildings were being built, a lot of very cynical people, locals, going, "But we don't even have any tourists. What on earth is this about?" But yeah,
exactly. But I mentioned the two key words. And you need to be idealist and enthusiast, and you must love your country. Then you can make miracles. Just going back to Knut Hamsun, since you mentioned your reflections on Batumi, and the Knut Hamsun traveled to Batumi. It was 1899, I think, 1898, and he described Batumi as. By the way, Batumi was built initially by brothers nobles, and
it's actually for the Baku
oil.
A
European architecture still there. They built it port at the time, the Batumi port, for transport of oil from Baku to Europe through Batumi by ships. And then the Knut Hamsun describes Batumi as predominantly European city, with a Latin American flavor in it. You see how eloquently said, Latin American flavor in it. It has Latin American flavor in it.
Yeah, well, it certainly has a very special flavor, yes.
Absolutely, and now you have a modern city, coastline, I mean, Black Sea, a lot of tourists, a lot of modern hotels, places, museums, very well developed, and you have something that you did relatively quickly. I mean, it was done in a short period of time. I mean, actually 5-7 years. So it gives you a good idea about how quickly you can do things if you have a political will to do it, if you are not corrupt, if you really want to make a change, and when you mobilize resources of your people. And that's something that we have managed to do with all the things that, the certain things we couldn't manage well. Yes, but some of the things are really stays as a pride in my memories, and I think in memories of all the people who worked with me.
Well, I think that's absolutely true. Now, we're sadly getting a little bit out of time. There are so many other questions I had wanted to ask you, but maybe we will hopefully get you back on for another turn later on. But if you have advice to the people of the rest of the region, how do we share this sense of rapid development, of rapid sort of change of ethos, and is it even needed, or do you perceive that throughout the region things are moving in a good direction? What are your feelings on that?
Well, Mark, I'm optimist because I see opportunities in difficulties. When you have a difficulty, you need to see opportunities in every difficulties, and not vice versa. Then there is no way to progress. So difficult region, difficult, complicated issues. But in my dreams, and my dream is that Caucasus, my homeland, is a small Caucasus, like Europe. When you have a Benelux, 3 small, relatively the same size countries, living in peace, in prosperity, it is possible. It is possible here. I'm very optimistic about that. I think the time will come that the Caucasus will be Benelux of this region, because such a potential in Azerbaijan, such a potential in Armenia, such a potential in Georgia. We all three, with all our differences, we have a lot of in common, and we have a lot of strengths that we need to build on. So it's not wishful thinking. It's what I truly believe. And I think if we could do similar things that we have done in Georgia, putting aside some of the ambitions and putting the country first, putting a larger interest first, and putting aside some of the differences, I think we can make we can make a difference. And I truly believe that it is possible.
Well, Gela, what an absolutely wonderful thought on which to leave this, which has been the Caspian podcast from the Caspian Post. Thank you Gela, and I do hope we'll be able to see you again in a future edition. Thank you so much.